Ladies, welcome to Dodson City.
The traffic's a lot better than what I remember as a kid.
Most of the civilians have made their evacuation, so the only traffic we're likely to see is tanks. That said, Oligopoldmart is trying to establish this as a forward position while Planet Riley deals with another front.
Speaking of Planet Riley, can I ask y'all not to bring it to anyone's public attention that I'm with y'all on this little mission? After that last incident, I'm not really supposed to be on the front lines again, so if I go up in flames, just tell them a cruise missile hit me. And that I looked good doing it.
Roger. We'll tell them you died and that it's tragic, but the flames were glorious. Anyway, this is a simple sweep and destroy. Just scour the nav points of any enemies. If we're lucky, they'll be flat-footed, but they're starting to dig in, and I think this is the last time we're gonna catch anyone by surprise. I've been trying to watch their movement, senor, and it looks like they had a couple more heavy assault bots in the area, but they've left. Based on the way they're scattered around, these guys are either elite troops who can manage that sort of thing, or they're a bit inexperienced. Well, one way or the other, we don't plan to hold this position right away. We just need to drive them out of here.
We're engaging at the first position. We've got a heavy assault bot, but he's getting pretty rattled.
The Angel of Death has come! Yes, Regal Lance is upon you.
Man, I remember the last time I said something like that.
Jackson, if you're not really supposed to be on the front lines, how are you doing in terms of health?
Well, I'm fit to serve in combat, if that's what you're asking. The surgery had a few complications, but I got through it alright. The main problem is that the prosthetics I have now require a lot of maintenance and attention. If they get banged up, my body can't fix anything on its own, and that can get expensive. Of course, it's not like anyone's gonna notice if I divert a few pennies towards fixing some busted up mechanical legs. Especially when you consider how much more valuable it is to have another experienced assault bot on the field. First nav point is taken care of. Looks like we surprised him. One of the bots was still powered down.
Good work, Regal Lance. Continue with sweep.
Colonel Jackson, I know it's not gonna do a lot of good to argue, but at least consider having someone run frequent diagnostics on your prosthetics if you're gonna do this. A lot of stress can cause tiny parts of the machinery to break.
I know, I heard it. This ain't gonna go on for long.
Okay, as long as you understand that if the doctor said you're not fit to be in combat, it was probably for a reason.
I know, I heard this when the doctors first told me this, but you know, the famed British commander Horatio Nelson went to battle after losing an eye and an arm, and I am not about to be outdone by some 18th century cripple.
Well, that's great, Colonel Jackson, but Horatio Nelson was also a naval commander and he stayed on a boat instead of being on the front lines in a giant robot. So you would be more like Horatio Nelson if you stayed at base and gave commands.
Well, I've been replaced on the command detail. I'm supposed to just be a liaison for you all.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be overtly critical. It's just that this is a really silly reason for a repeat injury, and I see it a lot more often than I feel like I should.
It would seem Colonel Jackson now joins us in insubordination. Yes.
Well, we're not exactly insubordinate. We just kind of answer to ourselves.
Colonel Jackson, if you're being cut from command, but you remain our coordinator, does that mean that we're being cut from the picture by Planet Riley?
I don't have any reason to think that's the case, Sugar. Planet Riley doesn't have the resources right now to hold this planet. From what I can tell, neither do y'all, frankly. It's gonna be a bit of a struggle with logistics.
Well, Ray's got a legitimate historical claim to govern, so we're hoping that makes a difference. Of course, a lot of Oligopoldmart's most opulent stooges are likely to try to flee the planet with their ill-gotten gains. If most of them haven't already left, they will soon, and there's not a lot we can do to stop them.
Well, from what I've been briefed and what I can tell just from looking, Oligopoldmart seems to accept social unrest as an inevitability, and they wouldn't settle down anywhere if mobile capital weren't part of the deal. Hey, speaking of people fleeing from places, I'm starting to get really creeped out wandering down these streets. They're just empty. Dead empty. I know that people evacuated, but there should be cars around or evidence that people lived here.
Maybe in the past. Dodson City is only home to about a couple hundred people these days.
Are you being cynical? It's the capital. There should be tens of thousands of people here.
Maybe Jordan is saying nobody goes here anymore. It's too crowded. Yes.
Nope, it's the simple economics of wealth disparity. A number of wealthy people moved into Dodson City and started buying up land. This drove up the cost of land and housing. Then people who couldn't afford to live here had to move out. As more and more consumers made their exodus from the area, local businesses had to raise prices to make up for their lack of sales. These days, people drive in to work at Dodson City, but virtually nobody lives there.
That really happened? The streets used to be packed. There were thousands. What are all these buildings used for now?
Hiding enemy troops.
Jordan, if what you're saying is true, where does everybody drive in from?
Port Turtledove. The city of the poor is roughly 2.5 hours from the city of the rich, so people can still drive in and still get to work.
So we've already won the war, basically.
In sort of a physical sense, yes, we've reclaimed the population, But these few hundred people in Dodson City have more money and assets than the entire rest of the planet combined. If we can catch even just a few of them, we might be able to hold them hostage and negotiate for them to return some of the money. We're only going to be able to catch a few, though. Most of them don't even live on planet. They're just sitting on their properties.
So this is it? This whole time I thought we were fighting this giant organization of people and it's just a couple hundred guys? Darling, I don't know how to break this to you, but it's always just a couple hundred guys. Them and the thousands of hungry men and women just trying to scratch out a living below them. I mean, hell, let me be frank with y'all. I can tell you by name which senators it is that are busting their asses making sure I'm busting my ass to make sure that their businesses are safe from oligopoly. It has always been, and always will be, just a couple hundred guys.
People are naturally flawed, yes. When we take over, we should build a giant brain computer, armed with lasers and nuclear weapons, yes.
No. A robot brain with nuclear weapons and lasers is tried and true, we know that's safe. But I once heard a story about a planet that made an AI to run its government. Apparently it turned to corruption faster than anyone thought possible. Within a day, it owned all the planet's money, and was using it just to finance its own campaign measures, even though nobody was running against it. Pretty soon it began to round people up and force them into a terrifying mechanical hive mind that pretty much just sat around and talked about how if the poor want to get ahead in life, they should cut back on their excesses. It was let them eat cake at an exponential level only possible to a brilliant computer. Within 2 weeks, a military coalition had to be formed to glass that planet before that AI began to lobby other governments. With the generous campaign contributions that thing was offering, the whole galaxy might have become a hive mind.
Are you fucking with us?
I heard that story from my Grammy. She was a cantankerous old lady, so take it with a lot of salt. Also, she would have washed your mouth out with soap for that kind of language.
Sorry, I'm used to hearing a certain amount of insane but slightly believable conspiracy from one of our other members. I wasn't sure if there was going to be two of you.
It's not an insane conspiracy theory, it's called a tall tale. It's for entertainment, you know, it's supposed to be humorous or express some kind of moral.
I will have you know that my theories are not insane. Yes, thank you. If you think they sound convincing, then perhaps you are the insane one.
Well, you certainly drive me crazy sometimes. How are things going, Ray? What's your status?
Surprisingly easy, to be honest. We're moving about as fast as we can walk and we've got barely a scratch on us.
We may have screwed up, senor. Like I said, there was some troop movement earlier. There should be more around here, but we may have missed our mark. What do you think? Maybe our target's evacuated already?
I don't know, senor. I hear that fighting is still pretty heavy on other fronts. That could just be holdouts or... I don't know.
Where's the elite troops? That's what I want to know. This shouldn't be a cakewalk. We should be running into some serious opposition.
They could be trying to trick us into overextending ourselves. If they let us take too much ground too quickly, we'll be spread out thin. Then if they spring back on us, we'll get wiped out.
You think that's their game? They're ceding ground so that we'll take it?
Well, think about where this is going. There's some assault bots out here, but these are the slow ones that got left behind. I've been hearing word that our troops are getting hit by a lot of fast skirmishers on the other hand.
Are they hitting your supply lines?
As sure as sugar, you know they damn well are. Of course, one way or the other, they'd do that if they could, so I don't know if that's indicative of any kind of strategy. I'm just worried that if we slow down and consolidate, we'll let these guys slip between our fingers, but if we speed up and move too quick, we'll be the ones starving.
We don't have much of a choice. If we're too slow, we won't have any money and we'll starve in the long run anyway.
Well, I say you better plan to succeed, but also plan to fail in this sort of situation.
I'm showing a clear scope around Regal Lance's operational area, senor. Looks like mission accomplished.
Got just a little bit of superficial damage. Otherwise, everything's looking really good.
Alright, good work, Regal Lance. Go ahead and come back the way you came in, and we'll sit down and think about what we want to do next. Keep your eyes out for any small units, senor. I'd hate for our speculations to be true and have it turn out they were just waiting for us in the wings. Yeah, this city's gonna be a real nasty place for ambushes.
Roger. I'll keep my eyes peeled. If y'all do manage to get a hold of some of that money, let me know. I know some senators who are looking for some campaign contributions that might be persuaded to give y'all financial aid.
So we've gotta have money to beg for money. Sounds greasy.
Grease spins the wheels, darling.